Our previous post featured two Sonoma City Council members arguing over a possible conflict of interest regarding a second dispensary in the city. Here now, the discussion continues.
I think that having competition is good, and allowing the city council to have the power of picking only one person to do any business is not a good system. I don't think it's a good system, and I think it leads to a lot of problems, which we saw in this example here.
For a discussion about a second dispensary, so this cannabis has been going on for a long time, probably 5 years. Back then, because I thought it made sense, I supported two dispensaries. Of the 3 people supporting dispensaries, only 2 people supported 2. And so then it defaulted to 1 because that's what the consensus was. And that is what we built our entire system on. And it was only after a campaign introduced the term monopoly that suddenly there was a problem with the structure that we had. At this point, I think that we should stick with what we have and just finish it. So I would not support having that conversation.
I think it's really unfortunate that the vice mayor is now withdrawing her support for a second dispensary. I think broadly
my support for a second dispensary was probably withdrawn when the council decided not to have a second dispensary a long time ago. I don't get to the end and can't make a decision and suddenly want to add the second one back in.
Why can't we add a second one back in now that white people are not allowed to change their mind? It's very interesting that that's a sudden change when it's something that you supported before. Now it's an opportunity to do, and now you won't do it.
And if I could just say, this discussion is part of what concerns me, which is about the need to have only one person have this license, and only SPARC, just doubling down on why they do need a monopoly. And it is the definition of a state-sponsored monopoly to say there is one license and one person can have it, selected by the state. There's so much going to make sure that SPARC and SPARC alone gets the one license. I'm really uncomfortable with it.
Well, as much as you would like for this to be about SPARC, this is about all of the effort we put into a decision that we made. If there was an appetite to have 2 dispensaries at the beginning, that is the process that we would have. And the fact is, a lot of people are saying we should have 2 because of the valley and the large population there. There should be one in the valley, and that is not in the city.
Yeah, and there you have it. Did Rachel Hundley just tip her hand regarding that alleged conflict of interest? This is the same line Erich Pearson and his cronies have thrown at the city for years now to convince it that a dispensary outside of town would satisfy the needs of Sonoma's patients and consumers. Oh, but wait, there's a problem with that too, because any out-of-town options means dealing with a white supremacist.
White people will stand up. You will not intimidate us.
But that's for a future post. Let's move on.
Well, for me, it's just about providing high quality access and choice to people who are cannabis users and use it for medicine and for, however they'd like to use it. And having 2 would provide additional choice and additional jobs and additional benefit. Having 1, it does provide a monopoly. It does kind of control the market in a way that I do think is a little odd.
And for me, as an open-minded person, having gone through the process and seeing the pros and cons, now I realize I don't think we have a great ordinance and it could be improved. And so that isn't changing the process. That's the process that all intelligent people go through when they learn. Ideally, instead of having a fixed goal and saying, well, I made up my mind 2 years ago, and I can't change it now. And I don't think that's a good way to function.
So in the end, SPARC won its conditional use permit, and despite Rachel Hundley's mysterious insistence on sticking with the, quote, process, the council also voted to allow a second dispensary permit. And about the city council, 3 weeks later, Rachel Hundley, gone, resigned. Her resignation letter suggested tension and hostility among council members. 3 weeks after that, City Manager Kathy Capriola, gone, retired. Another 6 months, and Mayor Logan Harvey and Council Member Amy Harrington, gone, resigned, citing low pay and the difficulty of balancing council responsibilities with their day jobs. 1 month after that, Council member David Cook gone to prison for committing lewd and lascivious acts with a child. We kid you not. As the San Francisco Chronicle put it, there is massive political tumult going on in the wine country city of Sonoma. We said that the city council voted to permit a second dispensary, but there's been no action on that because Erich Pearson, Amy Jenkins, and Emily Paxhia of SPARC have spent the last 3.5 years lobbying to protect their stranglehold on cannabis retail in Sonoma at the expense of Sonoma's citizens. More to come. Stay tuned.